3, 2, 1.
All right, gentlemen, we're going 8:30 in the morning. Joe DiPenta, Jeff McPhee, Cole Harbor Legends, Cole Harbor Legend tournament coming up. I'm happy to have both you gentlemen here. Thank you very much for joining the High Button podcast. How is everyone?
It's great. Thanks for having us.
I feel like not everyone has their full coffee in them yet, so it's still a little early to get the conversation going, but I'm going to do my best here.
All right.
Where do you want to start? Do you want to, let's, I guess, talk about the tournament coming up, the Joe Lamontagne 40th anniversary. You played in it. You're from Cole Harbor. Jeff McPhee, to my left, is organizing it a week before. It's exciting times. It's nervous times, but I will start with Joe. Growing up in Cole Harbor, some early memories that you have coming up from that community.
I can remember when Scotia Arena was the rink we played in. That was before Cole Harbor Place existed, and then coming back the next year for hockey season, and all of a sudden it was Scotia Arena was part of this bigger facility, and it was so cool. I remember being like on the ice at Scotia 2 for the very first time and playing. I think we got beat like 6-0 by a PEI team and got smoked. And it was our we were a novice novice A team, which was the equivalent to AAA these days, and we kept score back then. And it was just like we that was early in the year, and by the end of the year we were winning all the tournaments, and it was just fun to be part of that community and going to the Joe and winning the Joe every year. We won the Joe I think we lost I got one silver medal at the Joe, and the rest are all gold medals. So I'm proud of that fact.
That's good stuff. Was the Joe the big tournament always every year going, okay, boys, Joe's coming. It's in our backyard. Let's go.
I think because it was our home tournament and there were so many Cole Harbor teams in it, you just felt a lot of pride that we wanted to win that event. And it was a point of pride that we wanted to win our own tournament. And the only time we lost was in the finals. I remember it was a heartbreaker. And the rest of the time we pulled it off. But I wouldn't say it was the biggest tournament, but it was one we took a lot of pride in. The biggest tournament was always winning provincials.
Yeah.
And being the best team at the end of the year, winning the last game of the season. But the Joe was also, we didn't want to lose that one because that was our tournament.
Well, growing up in Cole Harbor now, today, you obviously think of guys like yourself, Sid, Nate, and it's this, hub in Canada where some greatest hockey players in the world come from. But back then, before these names were about, what was Cole Harbor and the Cole Harbor minor hockey known for?
That's a great question. What were we known for?
I guess what style of play? What was the identity of the organization? Because the identity's set now.
I think the identity that I experienced was this culture of winning. We expected to win, and that was instilled in me from my first year as a novice, that the teams we played on, and I think it was the leadership and the organization, Phil Harrott, George Gallant, my coaches, Joey Mullane, Paul Mason, like all of my coaches growing up, Dennis Irwin, like we had this mentality that we expected to win every game, and in order to do that, we knew that we had to play like champions, and that's not easy. Like you had to be humble and not take teams lightly and play from your heart and work harder than the other teams, and we practice harder than the other teams. So there was a culture of winning where we expected to win, and we didn't, like, finishing second was devastating.
Okay. So when you hear these stories, Jeff, about the culture back of Cole Harbor minor hockey back in the day and today, this week, the past 6 months, the past year, whatever it's been, of organizing the 40th anniversary of the Joe Lamontagne, how much pride do you take in that, knowing that the history's there?
Yeah, it's incredible, right? The tagline of the tournament is history and tradition, and it's really where we've found it from and have came from. And, to have greats like Joe, Sid, Nate, Cam Russell, all have been part of the Cole Harbor minor hockey organization and come up through, to really exemplify that winning attitude, that winning culture. I was in an executive meeting with the Cole Harbor minor hockey executive a couple weeks back, and one of the things we were talking about is the success of the teams this year, and that we are having a high winning percentage, like probably one of the best winning percentages that we've had in the past 5 years overall as an association. And just the pride in that and feeling that as we come into the Joe, we have an opportunity to be awarding banners to our hometown teams, and that's exciting.
Is it nice that knowing like guys like Joe give back and are here representing, you know, yourself, but as well as the Joe and Cole Harbour in general? Is it nice knowing that these guys are giving back? I know you said Cam gave ice to you guys a couple of years ago or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. We were short on some ice for the tournament last year, and Cam helped us out with the Mooseheads ice that they had booked in RBC Center on Pad C. They were on the road, so they weren't going to be using the ice, and just graciously said, yeah, you know, here you go, no issue, no problem. Like, you know, do you want us to get us that transferred over to our contract? He's like, you know, just like forget about that. Like it's taken care of. It's okay. It's an hour worth of ice.
That's awesome.
We're okay. It's great. You know, I was just in Quebec with my young fella for the BSR tournament in Levi, Quebec, and you know, Sid sent a message to the kids.
No way.
Heading into the Crosby Cup game, and just you could hear the emotion in me talking about it. Just the fact that he took the time out of his day in a busy NHL schedule to send a message to a group of 13-year-olds is incredible.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you know, coming up and, you know, having that pride of Cole Harbour on your back and moving into the real world, Boston University. Was that scary at first, going from Cole Harbour to the big city of Boston?
Yeah, I found it a really difficult transition when I was 16.
Yeah.
And I lived in a dorm room with a roommate, going from my family, comfortable family home at 16 years old. And the only way to communicate with my mom and dad and my sisters was through a payphone in the basement. It was before they had iPads and FaceTime and all that. So it was a big culture shift, too, to live in a dorm and with all boys and go to a prep school. And it was a big shift. Only played 30 games that season as opposed to, you know, over 50 or 60 or 70 when you play in the minor leagues around here. And so it was a really big transition. I didn't have a great season going down there, and I didn't get a lot of attention from the college scouts like I was hoping for. So it was a really hard year. And then in the summer, I turned things around and decided to make a shift and go play Junior A in Ontario, live with a family, and it was a much better fit for me. And I was able to get my career back on track, so to speak, and then got my scholarship to Boston University after that season.
Would you consider yourself a late bloomer in the timeline of your hockey career, or no?
No, I think it was just that season was just an off season for me. I was homesick a lot.
Okay.
And missed home, and the culture of the Boston culture isn't a good fit for me. It's a different culture, and I just realized that actually playing at Boston University, I don't know why I went there after I had the experience at prep school. It was a good school. It's an amazing school, and the program's phenomenal, but it's just the culture isn't my preferred culture down in the States. There's so many different types of cultures, and I could have gone to a different school, any school I wanted. I probably would have done it over. I would have went to a different school. Not that I didn't have a great experience, and I'm not talking bad about BU. It's just a fit for me. My personality is not as aggressive as probably like the norm is in Boston, and so it was a difficult. It was good, lots of growth,
learning experience.
Yeah,
because then you come home and you rip it up in the queue playing for the Halifax Mooseheads. You know, did you get to go? Were you back at your parents' place?
I did. I got to play at home, and so I got to relive kind of the years I lost from high school and be with friends and play for the Mooseheads. So it was a lot of fun playing for the Mooseheads for sure. The Memorial Cup year.
Some of the most iconic names in the Halifax Mooseheads organization played on that team.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just unbelievable. You know, Brandon Benedict, Brandon Reed, Jules Eddie Larocque, who's still here with us. You know, some of those names. That's back when I'm a kid. Yeah. You know, you guys are at Sobeys signing autographs. Those are the days I remember.
Yeah, lots of fun. I had lots of good experiences, like playing for the Mooseheads. I learned how to. I got into my first fight in the Mooseheads, and then that's a whole story. But yeah,
this is kid friendly here, Joe. Yeah. Come on. Yeah.
But the question that's going to be asked, Justin, is: did you win?
Did you win?
No, it's a good story. I was first day of training camp, first game. I was in the lineup, and I'd never been in a fight because I played college hockey, and I was a big kid. I was like 210 pounds, pretty solid, like. In good shape,
built like a fridge,
and I decided I wanted to get my first fight out of the way, and it was at Cole Harbour Place, so my home ice.
Comfortable.
All my friends and family were there, like to cheer me on, and Moosehead's first time putting the jersey on as going on the ice, and I decided to get into a fight. It just kind of happened, but I started it with just some person I didn't even really know. and it happened to be Daryl Jarrett from Sackville. And so Sackville boys can fight, right? And I didn't know.
I didn't know. How do you not know?
And I didn't really know, like, I didn't study the lineup or anything. And so I get into a fight, and I threw the first punch without grabbing on, and that was a mistake. And then I was off balance the rest of the time. And after the game, I was pretty devastated. And then the next day in the newspaper, the Mail Star Sports section front page said those hands weren't made for fighting, and it was my picture.
Oh no! What a welcome home moment.
Yeah.
Oh no! At Cole Harbor Place.
At Cole Harbor Place in front of my fans.
So, was it preseason?
It was preseason. And so the next night, this is how it came full circle. The next night, they had another game because it was tryouts for the team, and I wasn't in the lineup, and so I was in the stands watching it, and I was with a couple of my buddies who had been at the night before and saw the game. And I was sitting there next to a fan, and the fan started to talk to me, and he said, "Oh yeah, the team looks pretty good this year." I'm like, "Yeah, they look pretty good." And he didn't know I was a player. So he was just talking to me casually, and then he said, "Yeah, last night's game was a pretty good game." And I said, "Oh yeah," and I didn't tell him I was a player. And he said, "Yeah, that DiPenta, he looks pretty good, but man, he can't fight, worth a damn." And my friends all looked at me and then the guy looked at my friends and he goes, "You're DiPenta, aren't you?" And everyone burst out laughing. So we made light of the situation. It was a fun time.
That's incredible. But he had no idea who you were. That's unbelievable. You're just going along with it. Yeah, DiPenta. Oh, you can't go. I don't know. You might get cut. I don't know. We'll see. That's crazy. What a treat, though, to be at Cole Harbor to have that game. Unfortunately, the fight didn't go your way. But, my home rink Centennial, I'd never be able to play,
Yeah, that's right.
just that's what a treat.
Yeah, it was fun.
It's a great barn. Like it's like the painting up on the wall. Was that there back when you?
Yeah.
Has that been there forever?
It was there when they did I think Cole Harbor Place when they put Cole Harbor Place in. I don't believe it was there before. They put it in early in, like, when Cole Harbor Place kind of came around the rink.
Yeah.
Yes, it's been there ever since I was a kid, ever since I can remember.
Wow. Yeah. Kids must love playing the tournament.
Kids love playing in that tournament. But you brought up the mural, and what's very cool about the mural is when you come into the barn on Saturday, take a moment to take a look at that mural and think that mural was put up there probably, I'm going to say, late 80s, probably right around the right time frame, Joe.
Yeah.
And in that photo at that time, you have a black hockey player, you have a female hockey player. And you think of today's day and age of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how forward-thinking that was at that time. Because, not to be ignorant, but at that time, hockey was predominantly a white man sport. Because Willie O'Ree had only come up not too long before that and was the first black hockey player in the NHL.
Yeah, in the 80s they painted that.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm going to take a double look at that when I get there. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always just, as a kid, those weird things that catch your eye. Like, oh, that's the painting. We're in Cole Harbor. That painting always just, it was a weird thing with me. It's like, oh, that's the painting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But no, it's a great barn to play in. And then especially when you have iconic players coming up through it, it adds a little bit more flavor to it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just...
Yeah, like, we're excited for this year because last year with the tournament, we had spectator restrictions. We were only allowed to have, I think it was 100 people in Scotia 2. We were only allowed to have 200 people in Scotia 1. Most of our services at RBC were limited to, I think it was 75 people, with the exception of Pad C that we were allowed 250, I think was the max that we were allowed there. So this year, with no restrictions, knock on wood, the C word is behind us, or at least has evolved to a point that we're comfortable living with it. We can pack the stands. Mm-hmm. So, I think back to those Joe shootouts last year where we were, pushing spectator limits by just having the players in the stands to support their teams. But for the parents and all the kids, et cetera, to be able to come out this year, I can't wait to come into that building and feel that building absolutely vibrating with excitement as the fans are taking it all in.
No, we can't wait to stream it. It's going to be awesome. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, we're super excited for it as well. I think Saturday we'll get underway pretty quickly with, I think we got 5.5 hours of shootouts to go on Saturday.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. We'll start off with the U18 doubles early in the morning. And then we'll go U11, U13, U15A, U15 AA. We'll wrap up with, and it's going to be a fun day on Saturday with all the Crosby shootouts.
And you can catch it all on High Button Sports. We're not sure where we're going to stream it yet, but you will be able to watch it on High Button Sports YouTube or the website. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'll ask the question. You ever have an opportunity to take part in the Crosby shootout? Or probably at the time it wasn't the Crosby shootout, but with the March break shootout prior to Sid taking the naming rights on it.
I did it. In my second year novice, I was in the shootout, and I actually won it. So that was
Did you?
Yeah,
That's
it was a big
awesome.
thrill. Yeah.
Yeah.
Back then, I could have my wrist shot. I could shoot over the heads of the goalies. So that was it was a good, sure way. I probably scored 90% of the breakaways I had. Yeah, but it was a lot of fun. Yeah, and I probably wouldn't win many shootouts anymore. But that was back when I was eight years old. I had an advantage over the other kids. So I was bigger and I could shoot the puck high.
It's too bad you're not going to be here next Thursday. We could put you in the coaches shootout and see how you do.
Oh, neat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. if you're eliminated first, they give you a yellow shitty stick right behind Jeff. I don't know if you can see it, but I won. I was eliminated first last year. It's a yellow TPS grip. It's good pride to have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being on the other side though, and having children now, and watching kids go into tournaments, how exciting is it being a parent and knowing, oh great, my kid gets to go compete from Thursday to Sunday and win something really special? How cool is it being on the other side?
Yeah, it is super cool. My favorite pastime is watching my daughter play hockey. I'm an assistant coach with the team this year, and we've played in one tournament in Moncton. They finished. They lost in the semifinals in a shootout actually, and it was a ton of fun to see the girls come together and play. And then we have the provincials coming up the 23rd and 24th in Bedford of March. So we're looking forward to that. The girls just made the final four teams to get into that over the weekend. So they had a big comeback win, 3-2, down 2-1 with like a few minutes to go, tied it up, and then got the game-winning goal with like 50 seconds left to go. So much fun. It's so much fun to see them experience winning and see them experience coming together as a team, playing their best. I love it. Yeah, that's some of my best memories was going to tournaments in the hotels, going to the big games, winning the games, and yeah, it's a fun to see it through their eyes now and see them experience it.
They must be excited also about the women's team winning silver. That's historic weekend for Nova Scotia. That's incredible.
Yeah, we sent them a message the day of and sent it to them, wishing them good luck right before our game. So the girls thought that was pretty cool, and then of course they got the big shout out. They won that game and got the shout out on Hockey Night in Canada. The goalie was from Nova Scotia was praised by Ron McLean and saying she made all these saves. They won 3-2 against Ontario, and so it was. I played in Canada games, so
did you?
I know how hard it is for a Nova Scotia team to play against those other provinces. They play against Ontario, BC, Alberta, like any of those other provinces. They all have like incredible players and so much more depth. And so for a team Nova Scotia to go as far as they did, it was just like blew my mind. I thought, wow, how do they beat some of these big and especially because like they were in the semifinals. It's not like they're surprising anybody. Like this is after they've already played the round robin, and they're going for the gold, trying to get in the gold medal game. So it was very, very impressive.
It's a feather in Nova Scotia's cap for sure this weekend. It's big. A lot of momentum in Nova Scotia hockey right now. It's exciting. It's a lot of fun to watch, and it's a lot of fun to be a part of. Every time we go to the Joe, at least last year, the first time we went, and we got to see everything, the talent and everything come together. It was just, we're in the rinks a lot. Jeff is too, but to be to be there for the full week and see the talent on the ice, it's great to see. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. There's nothing better than walking in and seeing the action on the ice, and the buzz in the crowd. People are talking about this kid, or did you see that goal, or did you see that hit, and just feeling it out, or it's that close, intense battle, and you're not even personally involved. You're not personally invested in that game, but all of a sudden you're just drawn into it because of the energy of the building. It's so fun to watch, and you're thinking of those kids and like, oh my God, like I couldn't imagine the nerves that they have right now and how they're persevering and pushing through this. And at the end of the day, like I remember being in Quebec with Breton, my young fella, and I said to him the morning of the championship game, I said, "You nervous?" He goes, "No. I'm going to tie my skates just like any other day, Dad." And that was it. I was like, All right.
Yeah, a lot more on the line for the parents up in the stands watching.
Yeah,
We're more nervous
exactly.
than the kids are.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, that championship game was a tough loss to a team from Viry, France, but yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it was incredible to watch and experience, and they played a good game. They just didn't come out on the right side of the scoreboard, right? And that happens sometimes.
Do those nerves of playing hockey carry over into pro sport?
Yeah, in a good way. I think you learn how to control the nerves as you get older, and there's like a curve. If you get too far on one end, you don't play well, and if you're not ramped up enough, you're not. So you're always trying to find that kind of right at the top of the curve where you're nervous enough to get a top performance, and that's what you learn as a pro, is like how to do that every single game, and it becomes like an art and a science, and you figure out what works. That's why guys have all these weird routines, and because they know when they first started pro that their coach was on them, because they would play one good game and then one bad game and then one good game, one bad game, and you're trying to create that consistency throughout your career and bring it every single night. And a guy like me, who was a third line defenseman in the American Hockey League and in the NHL, I knew that some games I wouldn't play unless I had a really strong game. And so I went through a lot of adversity just getting in and out of the lineup and trying to figure out how to stay in the lineup. So you start to play lots of games with yourself mentally and trying to get up for games. And so, yeah, it's like you're a performer every single night. Even in practice, you're a performer. Like you have you have to bring it in practice. My coach said to me in the Anaheim, he said, "You are a player that needs to prove yourself every single practice, every time you're on the ice, and at every game. Otherwise, we're going to send you to the minors. So your job is to set the bar for guys like in the weight room, guys like Perry and Getzlaff, so they know where the weight room is, and showing them how you got to work out after practice, and showing and like creating a culture here of winning on the team, and that you need to lead by example. And that's what he instilled in me. And so every practice, I needed to bring it and show the other guys that I belong there, and I was going to work as hard. Yeah, and so that's how I became. I think that was the peak of my career, was in Anaheim. That my very first year, that was the best hockey I played in my career. And then after that, you start to lose a step a little bit, and before you know it, it's behind you. But that's just the way it goes.
I got to ask a question about Atlanta. Your first 3 games played, you got 2 points, and then you got sent down after. That's an amazing accomplishment to start your NHL career. 2 points in 3 games as a defenseman, and then you got sent down. Why'd you get sent down?
Well, it was maybe it was misleading, but it was the last 3 games of the season.
Oh,
so, yeah. So
okay.
Yeah, it was an incredible run, and if the season had ended, I for sure would have stayed for longer, because I was playing really, really well. And then it was the last games of the year, and I that was it. So, but yeah, I had my first game. I think I was even, had 17 minutes in Buffalo, and then we went to Long Island and played a few days later. And in my very first shift in my second game, the puck just seized parted. The puck came from the corner. I think Danny Heatley passed it out from the corner, trying to hit the other forward in front, and their defenseman pinched on him, and it went right behind that defenseman, right out to the right point, and I walked right in, like with nobody, untouched, and just had a clear shot on the goalie, and just put it top corner right over his glove, and it was just like a amazing shot. And I was just, the adrenaline was going, and I thought, I can't believe I just scored a goal in the NHL. It was a pretty cool moment. And then in that same period, we were killing a penalty. I was out killing a penalty, and I poke checked a guy who was coming down on me one-on-one, and it went right out to like the far blue line. And Kovalchuk just was so much faster than anyone else on the ice. He just went down, grabbed the puck, and scored a goal. And I thought, I got 2 points in one period. This league is easy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What was the first game like in the NHL? Do you have a story? Was it like a quick flight somewhere? Right, get your gear on, kid, get out there, or was it like planned?
I got the call the day before and had to go to Buffalo. So I remember going to get my stuff packed, calling my parents on the way to my apartment to pack my stuff, and had to fly to Buffalo. Got in the day before. The next day, remember pregame skate, I was very, very, very nervous, and I remember the coach just pulled me aside, and Coach Hartley pulled me aside and just said, "You're going to be doing what every kid in Canada dreams of doing. Go out there and have fun." and he gave me good advice, and he said, "You're just, enjoy the moment." And I think it's probably a speech he gives to every, player go and play their first game, but it helped me. And then I had a really good game. Yeah, I played 17 minutes solid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no goals against, and that was what I was aiming for. My dad flew to the game and saw it, and then it was a big moment for sure. But so much pressure, so much emotion. You've waited that long to play, and you finally make it. You think, wow, my life is going to be set now. I played an NHL game. That's what you think, but yeah.
We got the ring.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. Blinging. It's brighter in here because of it. I guess all the pressures and things playing in the NHL. I remember Brad Marchand put out an Instagram video the other day. It was like, pretend every day, even when you're playing minor hockey, like you're in the NHL. And then maybe you might not make the NHL, but at least it'll give you a step closer to the NHL. And I like how you said, you're competing in practice, you're competing in the weight room, you're competing obviously during the game. But that video was kind of, that makes sense. If you wake up every day, even if you're playing minor hockey, and you pretend like you're playing for the Boston Bruins and carry that professionalism, maybe one day it'll happen. Do you think that's true from, looking on his end on, the players coming up through the Joe? If you can act and pretend like a pro and have that mindset, do you think that eventually it could help your career? Not even in hockey, but just in life?
Yeah, 100%. I gave a talk to a group of U13A Halifax Hawks kids on Saturday before, it was Sunday actually. You gave a talk to them. I got invited to go give a talk. And what I told them was, you got to play, instead of playing with your head and when you're in your head thinking about a game, you're typically acting out of fear. Like, we got to win the game, guys. What if we lose? And you're thinking, and then you might point fingers at the referee, or you might point a finger at a teammate, or think about. But when you play with your heart, you think about, okay, I gotta do better myself. And I told him a story when I was playing for the Manitoba Moose. We were on a bit of a losing streak. We had a good team, and it was about 2/3 of the way through the season. The trade deadline was just coming up, and we were on this losing streak, and it was uncharacteristic for us. We were a really good team. And I remember having a one-on-one meeting with my head coach, Randy Carlisle, and he said, "Joe, how do you think we're doing as a team?" And we were talking through some things, and I said, "Well, this guy needs to do better, and I don't think this guy's really bringing his A game, and this other guy, I don't know about him either." And and he said, oh, hold on. He said, "What about Joe DiPenta? What could Joe DiPenta do better?" And I thought, I don't know. And he said, "Well, let's put it this way." He says, if Joe DiPenta could be 10% better next game, and then all of the other guys in the team can each be 10% better collectively, we are going to be a much better team. And I think that's what I learned in that moment was, you can't point the finger at other people. And I was acting out of fear. I was thinking, well, I don't want to get traded. I don't want to get cut. I don't want to. I want to win this year. I was thinking all these things out of fear. And when I started to, bring it back to myself and think, okay, how can I be better for my teammate? What can I do better as a player? And just focus on me. And for me to be 10% better, I can control that. And if I'm doing that, and then the guy across from me is also going to focus on that, man, we're going to be a much better team. And I took that for the rest of the years in pro. I always focused on what can I do better, instead of coming in the room and yelling at guys, or it's come in the room, I'm upset. What can I do that can be better? And I think that's a lesson that if you can learn that early on in your career, you're going to take that. Not only you're going to have more success in whatever you do. And when you start pointing the finger around, that's when you get into trouble, and you start losing a sense of like, what can you actually control, and it's all about living your life with a lot of heart. And heart means that you don't live out of fear. You got to do what you can do and control what you can control, and that's a big lesson.
I love that. Is it hard, do you think, to give that message to the younger age? Do you think that they could understand that message? I know Paul Mason has a lot of influence in that organization of helping kids get to that next level. Do you think it's tough?
I think it's a message that needs to be consistent. And I think that is, one thing that we do well within the Cole Harbour Minor Hockey Association is we consistently instill that message that this is a team game. It's not an individual game. It's not about the one-on-one battles. It's about playing that team game and supporting each other and knowing where each other are going to be on the ice, and just, everything you practice, put it into use in that game, and bringing your all to the rink and being ready to go, and leaving it all out there each and every game. And I think if you're doing that, then no matter what the result of that scoreboard is, I look at the game against France as a great example. Yeah, we lost, but we can honestly say we played our game. We played a strong game. So, do you point a finger and go, oh, this? No, because at the end of the day, too, especially as parents and coaches, we got to look at it and go, these are kids. They're playing for the love of the game. They're playing for fun. And yes, as parents in the stands, there can be emotion. We can bring all this stuff. But at the end of the day, it's about kids and playing for the love of the game. And you don't want to take that away from them. And hear Joe talk about, living the dream of, being that Canadian kid that's getting to go and on the ice and play his first NHL game and just have fun is the coach's advice to him. That's the most important thing at the end of the day, because if you lose that fun aspect, all of a sudden now it's work. And if it's work, then you're maybe not as excited to do it.
Yeah, having a kid mentality in the NHL, that's a dream.
Yeah,
for sure. The pressures, though, of trying to win a cup, I couldn't imagine. I guess the question is, was it tough for you to find, I don't want to say a role, but was it tough for you to find, okay, how am I going to, like you just said, how am I going to help this team win a Stanley Cup? Because there's so many guys on that team, the list, like I listed it here, Salami, Niedermeyer, Chris Kunitz, Pronger, Getzlaff, Perry, Thornton, John Sebastian Daguerre. And it's like, okay, I know my role. I know how to win this Stanley Cup, but I just have to be consistent with it. Like, what was your mindset going through that year of winning a cup? Because you must know early that the team's special.
Well, the year in 2005 and 2006, that season, we were a last place team going into, not last place. We were not a playoff team going into the Christmas break. So the first part of the year, we weren't slotted to make the playoffs. And then our general manager, Brian Burke, made some key acquisitions. He moved some of our they were not very tough players that were more of a skill guys like Fedorov and Peter Sikora. That he moved those guys and traded them. And he brought in some guys that were less skilled but had more grit. And just our talent in the room was probably less skilled after making these trades. Definitely less skilled.
Really?
But we had more of a chemistry. And then after Christmas, we were the second best team in the NHL, our record. So we ended up making the playoffs, 6th seed in our conference. So even though because we had such a poor start, we still scraped into the playoffs. And we went on a run and made the semifinals. Eventually we fell short to Chris Pronger and the Edmonton Oilers, and they beat us in 5 games pretty easily. And they went on to go 7 games with Carolina. But we learned, wow, we got really close, Final Four. And then in the offseason, we traded for Chris Pronger. So we had to give up Joffrey Lupul. He was a 30-goal scorer for us and big offensive punch. But we added Chris Pronger. And now we were getting back Getzlaff and Perry and Dustin Penner, who were going to be second-year pros. And so our team got markedly better. So the Hockey News said that the Anaheim Ducks are the team of destiny. There was a headline, Team of Destiny. And so Brian Burke came into the dressing room with the Hockey News, and he said, boys, I got some good news. We're the team of destiny this year. Did you guys see this? And he was going like this and shaking the newspaper and the Hockey News. And then we thought, okay, there must be something coming here. He's never this chipper. So he said, yeah. He said, guess how many years they've been correct over the last 8 years in picking the winner. And we're like, I don't know, Berkey, how many? He goes, 0. They're 0 for 8. So we kind of had a laugh, and then he went on to tell us that every team is now going to be targeting us. No referees are going to give us any breaks because we're a gritty team, and it's going to be hard for us to win. But what he instilled in us in that speech was that the expectation was that we were going to win the Stanley Cup. He put the vision in our brains that we are expected to win the Stanley Cup, and if we don't, it's going to be a failure. So we expected the whole season that we knew it would be hard, and only one person in the dressing room had ever won, and so we knew it was going to be hard, but it was definitely our expectation. And then when we played Ottawa in the finals, we absolutely had the belief that if we didn't win this series, it was going to be we weren't just happy to be there. We were there for, now this is the last piece. We have to win this series. And it's funny when you're in the throes of the Stanley Cup, looking like when I was in the moment, it wasn't glamorous. Like it's just like a game. Like you were playing a game and you're with a group of guys you know very well. And there's all of this glamour in the stands and autographs afterwards, but you're very much just like a regular person playing this game. And that's the experience I had in the NHL. And I think all the guys, if you actually live that and go through that, that's what it ends up being. You've got your family at home. You try to live a normal life as much as you can. You happen to go to the rink with 20,000 fans and you sign autographs afterwards, and you get on a plane and you travel places. But at the end of the day, you just end up being just a regular person playing this game. And that's what it felt like in the playoffs. The only time where I felt like the pressure was when I'd play in Ottawa with the media, and you'd have like 50 media. In Anaheim, the beautiful thing is that there wasn't that much media. So it's a really great experience, but it was something that the pressure kind of just, you have to just manage it and get through it. But it was definitely a great run.
Was it disbelief when you won? Was it like, this isn't real?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's how I felt when that's how I described lifting the Stanley Cup. It felt like disbelief. I felt like, what like, am I really, is this really happening to me? Like, because you play that final game and you just want to win, and you're like, okay, and now it's over, and like you're it's almost like you're numb. Like what's actually happening? Like all these, we just won the Stanley Cup. What does this mean? And you lift the Stanley Cup, and it's like you're just so overwhelmed with emotion. You don't know how to feel. Like I can't even describe it. It was almost like a disbelief.
Wow.
Yeah.
Moments I'm sure that you'll cherish forever.
Definitely.
That's unbelievable. The Canadian dream. First game to a Stanley Cup, Especially in Ottawa too, where the media is, like you said, just ramped up. Not just Ottawa, just the Canadian media in general, just ramped up.
It was night and day between Anaheim and Ottawa. Ottawa, every third car had a Senators flag on it. We were in a bus going to the rink, and the people on the street recognized, not that the bus was labeled Anaheim Ducks, but they saw it and realized it was the Anaheim Ducks, and they reacted like as if like, you're not welcome here. And they had this, like, the city was like, oh, there's the enemy. And because they wanted to win so bad in Ottawa, I don't blame them. And we had to stay in Quebec, actually, because we couldn't find like a peaceful place in Ottawa. So we stayed off in Quebec where nobody would find us. But I remember going to the rink. I guess what gave it away was, now that I think about it, we had police escorts. So that was the reason why they were like, oh, that must be, the Ducks. But yeah, it was crazy. The dressing room in, I remember, like, I was a healthy scratch for the first 3 games of the finals, and I played all the other games, but there's a story with that, and I was out. But the media came in when I got back in the lineup and said, Joe, I had all the TSN and the mic in my face, and they were like, so you're back in the lineup tonight. Chris Pronger's out. He's suspended. So how are you going to replace Chris Pronger? and I'm like, how do I answer that? I was like, I don't even remember what I said. I was just like, but I mean, like, obviously I'm not going to replace Chris Pronger. Like, I'm like he's a Hall of Famer. I'm like, just coming back in the lineup to the 6th defenseman on the team. And it was just so much pressure that we didn't have in Anaheim. So it was definitely night and day between Anaheim and Ottawa in terms of the media. But it was a great, when you got off the plane in Anaheim and you got in your car and you drove home and there wasn't one fan there or one media person or nobody there, and you had 2 reporters all year that would follow the team around. That's it. It was like a break. There was like solace when you were back home in Anaheim. You didn't have to deal with all of the distraction.
That's what Nate said when they won the Cup in Tampa. He's like, at home, there's just so much pressure. But when you're away, it's just like silence. That's what he said. He's just silence. It's just no one cares because you're away. No, your friends, no family's there. No, it's just other people. Just whatever.
Yeah.
He's like, you just need that pressure to go away a little bit, and then you can just play hockey. Mm-hmm. Same thing.
Yeah.
Everyone at the Joe is going to be like, why is High Button here? We don't need media. What are you guys doing here? No, we got to get away. After listening to that,
can't do interviews anymore.
Yeah, sorry guys, no post game interviews. But no, that's a crazy story. That's insane. Yeah. That's you painted it well. Let's say that. How many times have you told that story? Do you think?
No, not too many.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's when you get the ring afterwards, is that a special moment too, knowing that you can just have that for the rest of your life? Because obviously you got to give the cup back, but having the ring and you're wearing it today, you know, having that must be almost like a family heirloom at this point.
Yeah, for sure. We got it. So I got asked this on Saturday or Sunday. Actually, the kids, they said, you know, like, when do you get the ring? Do you get it right after the game? And which you know, logically makes sense, but they have to actually make the ring. So you get it with our rings. The story goes is that Scott Niedermeyer and the owner sat down with the owner's children, the owners were big fans, but the owners they didn't know a lot about hockey when they bought the team. They were actually looking to buy an NBA team because Henry Samueli is a big basketball fan, and so his company went public in the early 2000s, and he became a overnight billionaire, and so they wanted to buy a sports team. And so when the Ducks came for sale, he's like, oh, well, maybe he couldn't get the Sacramento Kings to move south. So he said, let's buy it from the Disney group. So he bought the Mighty Ducks, didn't know a lot about hockey. His second season, wins the Stanley Cup. And he's like, wow, this is easy, win the Stanley Cup. And so they just said, he went to the NHL and said, how do we do the ring? Like, tell us what to do. And he said, well, there's no standard for the ring. It's up to you how much you want to spend, how you want to design it. There are a handful of companies that will design it for you and build it. So it's all of the school ring companies like Jostens and Herf Jones and etc. And they're in the business of making shape rings. So they hired a designer and they hired a company. And so Scott sat down with them to kind of help them design it because they didn't really know what to do. And so what they did is they put a lot of symbolism in the ring. So it's kind of cool. If you look up the ring online, you can see this, but it's got 110 diamonds in the ring, one for each point in the regular season. So the year that we won, we had 110 points, 10 overtime losses. So 50 wins, 10 overtime losses. We were second best in the league. Detroit had 113 points. And then if you can see the Stanley Cup, the top of the cup here, there are 16 big diamonds in the Stanley Cup. Do you guys know why 16 is important in the playoffs?
16 games played.
Wins, you got to
16 wins. You got to win 4 rounds, 4 wins per round. So the 16th win is represented with a big diamond at the top of the Stanley Cup. And then on the sides of the ring, they have some symbolism as well. They put California's first cup. So that was the first time an NHL team had ever won. And then, of course, the Kings won twice after us. But we were the first team. And that was also when Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor. So Arnold was at the opening game in Anaheim, and he was also there at the Stanley Cup parade. He was very proud of us, and I got to meet a legend, Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was pretty cool. 16 wins, 5 losses was the record in the playoffs. 2007 was the year we won. And then on this side of the ring, player's last name, player's number, and then, of course, the Mighty Duck symbol. You have to put the Mighty Duck symbol on there to pay homage to the original logo. And then they put 93 was the first year the franchise came in the league, and then 07 was the year that we won the cup. And then all of the green diamonds represent a season in the NHL when the franchise was called the Mighty Ducks. And then the white diamond represents the sale of the team in 04-05. And then 2 orange diamonds represent the new ownership taking over. So they put a lot of thought went into this. Wow. And then we had a saying during our playoff run that we started organically. It's not like we Googled it and said, what's an inspirational saying? We actually created this from scratch. And it started off with Teemu Selanne had this buzzword that he always said, and he had kind of broken English, and he had a funny accent. And so we would always tease him. And Teemu Selanne would say, boys, we have to have passion. And we all would kind of look at each other like, what's this guy talking about? Like the whole season, he would say, boys, we need passion. You got to play with passion. And we're like, okay, Teemu, we get it. It's passion. We have to play with passion. And we'd all kind of joke about it. So then Teemu said this all the way through the season. Then Todd Marchant, one of our veteran players, he came in with a T-shirt, black shirt, and just said the word passion on it for the first round of the playoffs. And so we all thought that was pretty funny. And then so we won that round. So Todd said, well, I'm going to add a word to it. And so because we were the team of destiny by the Hockey News, he added the word destiny is passion. So we had this new shirt, destiny is passion. So we all laughed at that. And then we won that round, and he created a new shirt. And he said, destiny is heart and passion. And then in the finals, he said, we've had a lot of sacrifice to get to this point. We've sacrificed a lot. It's been 2 months, lots of ups and downs, lots of emotion. So we added the word destiny is heart, sacrifice, and passion. And then that's what's on the inside of the ring.
That's awesome.
That's very
That's
cool.
full circle.
Wow.
That's great. That's unbelievable.
Absolutely incredible. What a beautiful story and a beautiful memory. Like, that's something that you'll have with you for the rest of your life. You'll never, forget those moments in the locker room and those guys coming in and sharing those words of inspiration, etc. And now, to be able to wear that whenever you want and to just reflect back on those memories and take you back to a special place.
And I love how you said, like, you guys lost skill, but you have grit.
Yeah.
Like, I love that.
Oh, amazing. So, great bridge moment. We're doing championship rings for the winners of the Joe this year.
Are you?
Yeah, we've there's no diamonds in them.
Okay, well, budget got set back a bit this year, eh? Budget got set back.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We're doing championship rings. I think it's going to be pretty cool. There's all kinds of hockey trophies out there, medals out there, and all that stuff. And I said, what's something different we can do that the kids are going to like, the kids are going to enjoy, and it's that thing that you could take to show and tell me, like, look what we won. Yeah. And so I'm excited for the kids to see them when we get them for the first time. I've seen the proofs, and I think they're going to be pretty special. I think the kids are going to love receiving them when they win the championships at the tournament.
Awesome.
Yeah,
you guys are great at like adding those little bit of extra, I guess, memorabilia moments for the kids. I know with the mic'd up videos, you made those hoodies for the kids, the rings.
Yeah.
I know Paul. Every time someone wins the shootout, they get a picture with Sid in the cutout there. Like, there's just little things that you guys do really well to make sure that the kids have a good time. It's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, at the end of the day, it's about the experience, because not every kid is going to have the opportunity to play in the NHL and live out that dream. But every one of them that steps on that ice, in the back of their mind, they're like, maybe someday there's an opportunity, there's a chance that I am going to get there. But if you can make them feel as great as Joe felt when he lifted the Stanley Cup for the first time, or Nate or Sid, it doesn't make a difference. It's just seeing the joy, seeing the pride on their face, and experiencing that moment and living in that moment like it's the biggest game they've ever won in their life. And if we can make that as special as possible for them, we're going to.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
What's on the agenda from now until the time the tournament starts? I guess that's maybe not a fair question, but what do you have to do?
Well, I've got to put in another 4 solid days of work.
Okay.
And then it's vacay mode for next week, and really truly live and breathe at the rink. But right now it's the devil's in the details. And we had a committee meeting last night, and it was funny. We were supposed to meet in one of my committee members' houses because we thought, we're going to have to fill out game sheets. We're going to have to stuff player to the game things. We're going to have to do this. We're going to have to do that, and have all these things. And we're going to make it a family event and bring the kids over to help with it like we did last year. We don't have any of that to do this year because just different things that we're doing in the tournament. The game sheets are all pre-filled out. We just have to print them. Yeah. And we're using Gray J, plug for Chad Trenholm, another Cole Harbor guy. We brought our website local, working with Chad and the Gray J team now. So live scoring, etc., will be all on the website. Just additional cool features that we can add, especially for the teams that are coming in from away. But allows us to print off paper game sheets with pre-populated rosters, and this is the home team, this is the away team. Like, the only thing we got to do is sort them into, okay, this is March 11th, this is March 12th, this is March 13th, which really at the end of the day is not going to take a whole lot of time. So we're sitting down last night and we said, okay, 4:00, we're meeting at 6. We said, we don't need to go to Joanna's house, let's just go to North Brewing. So a couple of the committee members show up at North Brewing. Of course, I'm running late, as per usual, because I'm buried in something in front of the computer, just trying to, make sure I got this, make sure I got that. My agenda's set for the meeting. Stop to get gas. Phone rings while I'm getting gas, and it's like, North is closed. Oh. So move down the road, we go into big leagues, which we probably have 85% of our
first meeting was at big leagues.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's our go-to spot. You
frequent.
Yeah. It's the neighborhood pub, right? It's the sports bar. You got to do the meetings at big leagues. It was almost destiny in that way that we ended up there, right? So anyway, we sat down there last night and we were talking about it, and we were going, we're kind of reviewing the things we need to do. Like, the hospitality suite needs to be set up. We've got bannering to do. We've got this. We've got that. Just little things like this. And, at the end of the day, one of my committee members said, it's kind of like getting married, isn't it? I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, well, when you got married and you had this plan and this dance is going to happen and this is going to happen, and you're thinking about all these things, and it's all the details. but the only people that know about it is you and your wife. And to everybody else, they don't see it, and it doesn't matter if it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So just take a breath, relax, breathe, enjoy the moment. And the tournament's going to happen regardless. At the end of the day, the most important thing we can do is drop a puck. And that, at the end of the day, is the most important thing we got to do, is at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning, drop that first puck and get the games underway.
Yeah. And then the fun starts.
Then the fun starts.
No, that's
Yeah.
good stuff.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
We can't wait. Like I was saying to Jeff earlier, it's the worst week before.
Yeah.
You just got to sit here and wait.
And this year's been different because last year, because of the COVID situation last year, we got a green light 3 weeks before the tournament started.
It's a little rush.
And it was a whirlwind. We had met all year planning for it, and, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? And then 3 weeks, it was just, okay, it's a go. We need to do this. And it was hyper speed, and you were so focused on getting everything ready. But this year, because we've known it's going to happen, there's not been any of this balls in the air like, oh, is it going to come through? Is it not going to come through? It was just, okay, like we're set. We're ready. We're well prepared. We just need the teams to get here now and play some hockey. And that's the most important thing at the end of the day. I can't wait to see the kids coming into the rink and, and getting to experience all the special moments that are going to be part of it. Like we've got hoodies that are going to be available for sale at Cole Harbour Place. We've partnered with the local photographer, Eddie Schwartz Photography, that is going to come in and do team photos in all the locker rooms ahead of teams' games. And they'll be available for sale for the fans. They're going to do action photo shoots, working with you guys to do the mic'd up videos and doing the customized hoodies for it. Joe has graciously agreed to give an hour and a half of his time next Saturday to come in at Cole Harbour Place and spend some time taking some pictures with the kids, signing autographs, telling some stories, and showing off the cup ring and all the meaning behind it. And I'm sure a lot of questions to be asked now after hearing the story today on the podcast. So little things like that. Paul sat here last year and talked about the March break dance and how fun that used to be, and that got in my head last year. So on Friday, March 17th, Cole Harbour Place, 8 o'clock, we have a local band called the Pistol Pack and Papas from Pictou County coming in and playing Cole Harbour Place from 8 to midnight. It should be a great time. The lead singer is a good friend of mine personally. I think he's played about 4 or 5 parent parties at my house. And I don't think any one of them has ended before 5 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah, it's he just knows how to get the crowd going and keep the party going. So I think that the line on the poster for the dance is keep your feet stomping till well after midnight.
I love it. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Because last year the dance didn't happen, right?
Well, it was just... I never even knew until
3
last
weeks.
year that there had been a dance as part of the tournament in the past, and Paul brought that up. So you talk about the history and traditions. So it's kind of taking that history of the tournament, that this used to be a big part of it, and bringing that tradition back this year as part of the 40th. So it's special. We're excited for it.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of work.
Yeah.
But it's going to be all worth it and going to make some memories for the kids.
Absolutely. 100%. I think I want to ask Joe a question, and I happened to ride the coattails of a couple of friends and got to be part of your Stanley Cup celebration back home here. I was at the Kennard Center in downtown Halifax. But that day with the cup at home, what did you do, and what was the most special memory of that for you?
So it was a big day, like a wedding. I think I took I don't know how many thousands of pictures, and everyone wants a picture with me and the Stanley Cup. So it felt like a wedding in that sense. But it was a great day. We had a planning committee, a professional group that came together and planned the day. So they hooked up with ambassadors who's I actually happen to know them well. I met with them last week, actually, but it's funny how full circle that goes. Didn't know them back then, but they made the connection with ambassadors, and they had us a bus. So all 30 of our family and friends piled onto this bus at Choir Place at 6 a.m., and we were able to take that around the city and to all the different stops, so we didn't have 10 cars trying to find parking, and just created a really easy way to get around the city. So we started off with an IWK visit. which was fun. We used to do that when I played for the Mooseheads. So we went and visited the kids of the IWK, took the cup there, which was really special. And then we went to Dartmouth Crossing. Dartmouth Crossing actually was a sponsor of the day, so they actually gave us the funding to pay for everything else we did, which was fantastic. And we did like a public event. Dartmouth Crossing was new at the time, this 15 years ago. So they were looking to promote it, and so we had all of these, and the company took care of like getting the sponsorships and all that stuff. So I was like, great, sounds good. And so we took the cup there, and then we had like a couple hours. It was cool at that event. I got to reconnect with a fan that when I played for the Mooseheads, there was this little girl who had leukemia, and she was she was at the hospital at IWK when I played for the Mooseheads, and I got to know her, and then she would come to our games, and then I lost touch with her after I turned pro, and then 7 years later, here I'm at Dartmouth Crossing, and I just done this interview, and somebody came over. These couple girls started approaching me, and I'm like, oh, this I got the weird feeling, like, and she said, "Hi, Joe, do you remember me?" And I remember thinking, I looked at her, and like, I don't know if you've ever had somebody ask you that question. If you don't, they can read your face. Like if you don't know who they are, they can tell right away. So I'm like, that's a pretty pressured question, because then they're like, "Do you remember me?" It's like, I've had people ask me that and I didn't, and they were mad at me, and I'm like, okay. She asked me, and I said, "Jessica," and she said, "Yeah, I'm all better now." And it was a very powerful moment. Yeah. So I had moments like that throughout the day. Then I went to Caldwell Road School, where I went to elementary school, and we started a parade. And then I grew up on off of Cherrywood and Evelynwood, and so we did a detour up to my street, and all of my neighbors came out from their front lawns and saw the parade go by, and where I played street hockey. It was a very emotional by my family house. And then we went to Caldwell Place. The keeper of the cup said, he said, "Joe, I've never seen this many people at a Stanley Cup parade before." And we had about 2,000 or 3,000 people. Wow. So 2 years later, 60,000 people at Sid's parade.
You just had to outdo you.
Yeah. But at that time, 2,000 or 3,000 people was a lot of people in his eyes, and he had been to all of the Stanley Cup parties across Europe and everywhere. So it was a really fun day. Caldwell Place for a while, and then we went to my grandmother's nursing home, and then we went to the Kennard Center for a big party. And then after the Kennard Center was over, I think it was about 2,000 pictures deep into the day. Lots of smiles. I think my had a permanent smile on. And then I had just my small group of friends go to the hotel, the Westin, rented a suite, and we partied with it till about 6 a.m. So it was a fun time.
That's awesome. You did it right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You did it the right way.
100%. And, bringing that close group of friends together at the end of it, these are the guys that have been with me, the entire time. And that's special too, is just to have that moment with them and be able to share it with them. I know Pat talks about being at that event and, just, being part of that day and how proud he was of you and so excited to be part of it, et cetera. And, it's sharing that success with the community and with that friend group and all of that as well, that is so special. And you talk about the connection with the fan there that had the leukemia, and then years later you went on to work for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society and help share and spread their message. So obviously a lot of influences in your life that are incredible. Yeah,
no, thanks, Jeff. Yeah, it was that was definitely a connection that moved me in that direction towards Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and that was a big part of after my career was over. I did work with them for about 6 years, and that definitely was a big influence. And so Pat McEwen is one of my best friends. He always tells this story of one of the coolest things for him kind of being my friend throughout this journey was when we won the Stanley Cup. It was on CBC. You remember this, you've seen it every year where they celebrate on the ice and they do interviews and everything. Well, I got my cell phone and I called my grandmother and my sisters, and then I called called Pat and my other best friends, and so I'm on my cell phone on the ice while we're celebrating, and they were like, "Go stand behind Ron McLean right now," and I'd go stand behind Ron McLean and I'd wave to my buddies on the TV, and he thought that he always tells that story. That was one of the coolest parts of.
He was the puppet master.
Yeah, being on the journey with me. So
that's incredible.
That is incredible. That is incredible. I know your time's getting short this morning. You like myself have to get to work and put our day jobs in, but for the kids that are going to take part in the tournament this weekend, your own daughter that's going on to provincials. I don't think Jenny's team, unfortunately, I don't think is going to make it to provincials, and Breton's team is not either. But what's the message for these kids coming into the tournament, and as they're going to provincials or wherever their next game is? What's the one thing you want to instill in them and leave with them?
I would say do everything you can to try to win. Winning is fun. It's not it's part of the game, but it's not to be understated. It's fun to win and do your best to win. But in order to do that, you have to play with your heart. It means you have to think, what can I do better for my teammates? And the team that does that at the end of the day will be the champion. The team that says, I can be better and everybody in my team can be better, and they all come together with that same energy, that's the team that will be the champion at the end of the day. And because it's selfless, you have to do what you're doing for your teammates and go out there and play with your heart. And when you do that, you get rewarded. And so that's what I would say. Play with your heart and aim to win. It's fun, and that's what it's all about. And if it doesn't work out, you can still be, in terms of winning, you can still be proud of how you played and how your team played, and then you'll still feel good. And that's what I would just encourage everybody, the girls and the boys, what they're playing this weekend. Just go out and have some fun.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Joe. That's awesome. Incredible. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to come in today, and very appreciative of the time that you're going to give us on the 18th as well. That's going to be from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at Kohler Harbor Place. He'll be upstairs just outside of Scotia 1 near his display case of Joe DiPenta memorabilia from his time with the Mooseheads and with the Ducks.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to it. It's going to be a great weekend. Is there anything else you want to promote maybe to everyone listening? Anything else?
You know what? I did, I mentioned a couple of things. We have autographed Sidney Crosby and Nathan McKinnon jerseys that we're going to do a raffle draw on as part of the tournament. So $20 a ticket. We're only going to sell 750 tickets, 250 tickets per segment of the tournament. So they are going to be extremely limited. So, your first day at the tournament, get over to Kohler Harbor Place and make sure that you pick up one of those tickets for an opportunity to win. We'll do the draw on the last day of the tournament right ahead of the final championship game. Don't worry if you're already gone out of town. We'll make sure that we ship that out to you. There's still a few mic'd up high button sports opportunities that are available. So reach out to me via email, thejoechair@gmail.com. And for those that are going to be around on Friday, March 17th, apparently it's some big party day. I don't know, St. Patrick's Day or something like that. I'm not too familiar with that myself. No, me neither. But we're going to have a big party that night at Kohler Harbor Place. Tickets are on sale now at Paul Mason's shop at Kohler Harbor Place, top shelf. Stop in there, pick up your ticket. They're $20 in advance. They're going to be $25 at the door. And let's do a little contest on the website or on the social feeds, whatever you guys want to do. I'll leave you with a pair of tickets, and we'll do a random draw for a comment, like, share kind of idea. I'll leave you guys, your guys as the web's geniuses, to figure that out. But we'll give away a pair of tickets to the event as well.
Sounds good. All right, everyone listening, Joe, once again, thank you very much for coming in. I appreciate your time. Jeff, as always,
it's a pleasure.
Everyone enjoy the week. Have fun. Work hard. We'll see you in Kohler Harbor this weekend. We're out. Peace.